Bedroom.
It's recording. Do we just start it now?
Go for it.
Sam O'Reilly with a Fight Talk podcast. We're back. I'm with Kev. It's a family day. Was it Easter Sunday they call it?
Easter Sunday, yep.
So back with my brother-in-law Kev. Ain't been around for a little while. He used to be a face on the podcast. Now he just sort of floats in and out.
Don't get invited.
But yeah, no, we're back now. We thought we're doing Easter one. We'll let all the kids fuck about outside, and we'll talk some boxing because it was a big fight. It was a big fight. Some good fights, maybe some not so good. So we're going to try and sum it all up. We've got a shitload of questions as well. So thank you to everyone for them. But I want to start actually about a fight that wasn't on the matchroom bill. A guy that's been on the podcast, a friend of mine, Lerone Richards. He fought at 6:30 in Liverpool on a Neil Marsh card that was streamed live through their YouTube. Went 11-0, picked up a 60-54 victory against a guy he should be beating, a guy that he probably would have beaten his fourth or fifth outing. I don't mean that disrespectfully, that was the level of the opponent. I tweeted afterwards that I think it's bollocks and he's not being pushed, and I stand by that. Listen, Lerone Richards, unbelievable amateur, and he's now 11-0. All right, he's picked up a WBO European title that not many people give much respect to, and I understand it. I do understand it because it seems like only nowadays Warren fighters get to fight for that. But I believe Lerone Richards is above that. I think he's up there with most super middles in the country, barring the Groveses and stuff. Do you know what I mean? There's a tier of people underneath, and I believe Lerone Richards is in and amongst that tier. And he's desperate to fight those guys. And for whatever reason, he isn't being given the push. He isn't... I don't know why. For me, he's marketable, good-looking boy, humble boy. Like there's no... And a quality fighter, quality operator. Tall, rangy southpaw. I don't know. Like, he doesn't knock people out concussively like some others might do in the Warren stable. Maybe that plays a part in it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so. I'm just looking for his record now because obviously Sam talks a lot about him. Obviously he's not on many shows, so I don't really get to see him. But looking through his record, he's 11-0, which is great. But he's knocked out 3 people, and coming up at that level where he's fighting guys with 15 wins, 42 losses. He's fighting 2-13. You would expect him to have a better knockout record. But he's not about the knockouts. He's about the skill, the class, the movement. So it's a very, very different style of boxing. You can't knock someone because they're not knocking people out.
Yeah,
when they're absolutely battering people and destroying them with speed, movement, and other things. So from what Sam says, it's obviously that he's a raw talent. He's a very good talent, and he's not being utilised or he's not being used, and it's sad to see in this day and age. Definitely
having to go up to Liverpool on a couple of weeks' notice just to stay busy. Do you know what I mean? That's not good for him. And listen, he doesn't have the highest knockout percentage, but his boxing, it shouldn't be all about knockouts. Listen, we love to see it, and we'll come on to people not knocking each other out and stuff later when we talk about Anthony Joshua, I guess. But I don't know, I just think it's all wrong. I don't like it. For me, he's a marketable fighter, quality operator, needs the push, and I believe he will get up more for these bigger fights.
So I'll throw something to you, Sam.
You didn't tell me you were going to do this.
No, sorry.
What is it?
If he wasn't with Frank Warren and he's with somebody else, do you think he would be valued and more?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. And I look through the super middleweights at the domestic scene. You've got Darryl Williams and Leon Clark fighting for the English. Lerone Richards is a horrible fight for either of those two because he's a lot taller, a lot rangier. He's
a lot more skillful as well.
A lot more skillful. And, that's for the English. Who knows what's happening with the British at the moment, but there's some fights in this country that could be made with Lerone Richards if you give him a little bit of a push and pay the opponent a bit of money. Like, I don't understand what they're trying to do with Lerone. I really don't. I can't get my head around it. It feels like they gave him the WBO European shot in the 10th fight for... I don't know what reason. Because it hasn't pushed him on. Because he's
gone backwards, isn't he, fighting that guy last night?
Yeah, that's the truth. And I believe, and he said it before in the past, he'll get up for tougher fights. He'll probably get up more. You know what I mean? Last night he goes through the motion. He wins every minute of every round. He beats the guy up that shouldn't have been in there with him. And at this stage, Lerone is ready for the next test. And the thing is, like, there's certain fighters that don't want the tests after 11-0. Lerone is more than ready for it and more than capable of being in them, because he'll learn from, even if he came up against someone, a British title holder or ex-British title holder, and got defeated, it would do wonders for him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's that kind of guy. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. I think Lerone is fucking, someone's missing a trick with Lerone Richards. That's all I'm going to say. Let's come on to the main thing. The reason we're here.
Okay.
The Robbie Davis Jr. fight. I'm joking. He won, you know. He picked, you know, fair play to Robbie Davis Jr. He got the win, didn't he? He was the guy that beat him on the Eubank Jr. bill back last year, middle of last year. So he got his redemption after coming through some hard times. Fair play to Robbie Davis Jr. But now let's talk about the undercard first of the Joshua Parker fight. First fight that was televised.
Yep.
Cordina.
Joe Cordina. I've spoke about him on previous podcasts. Just absolutely love this guy. Love him. I think he is slick. He's powerful. His movement is I think second to none. Obviously, fighting a guy wasn't particularly great, if I'm honest with you. It was the first fight. It was there to make people excited. Moving on. But he done amazing. What did you think?
I think he's quality. I don't understand the weight thing with him. Like, they said it on commentary, and he said it afterwards, that I'm not a fully fledged lightweight yet. So why not carry on at super feather? I mean, he beat Jamie Spate, a good mate of mine. He beat Jamie Spate up quite convincingly, well, very convincingly, if we're being honest. But I don't know why the big fascination to go with lightweight. Maybe I've missed something. Maybe there's a reason. I don't know, but I don't know why the big fascination with lightweight when, you know, there's people like Ritson about, so he's not going to be fast-tracked to a British title. I don't know what route you take with Cordina. You pick up a few WBA internationals along the way and keep learning. I think it's a good time for him to test himself, though. You know, he's in the middle of a couple of weights, obviously. You know, it's good to test himself to see what he's better at. Is he better at being slightly lighter, being quicker, or is he better going up and knocking people out with a bit more weight? You know, this is the time. Yeah, that's the point.
You know, after 7 fights, you don't mind doing this now. It's when, you know, after 15 fights, you need to cement where you're going and move on, or even 10, 11, 12, whatever it is. But you know, now I think it's good for him to go up a weight. You know, fight bigger guys. If he can knock people out of that weight and then drop back down, he knows he's got that to go. You know, in the future if he needs to.
Yeah.
I think it's a good.
He's talented, isn't he? He's skillful.
Brilliant. I love a skillful boxer.
Would you say he's your favourite of the Olympians that Eddie's got out there at the moment? You know, younger Olympians.
Probably of the Olympians. Obviously, Eddie's got so much talent. It's just despicable, really, isn't it? But I just hope he's good to them all. That's what I say.
You can't push every one of them. Joshua Buatsi last night was on the card.
Yeah,
he fought before the sky was turned on.
But didn't Joe Cordina do that before in the last one? So maybe they're just taking it in turns.
What they done to Joe Cordina was even worse, wasn't it? If you remember correctly, he was. He ended up being. They threw him out before Joshua fought. Was it Takam? And they didn't even televise it. They just spoke over it, building up.
Well, that's what I mean. So maybe they're taking it in turns, not to be seen on telly. I don't know.
Yeah, a bit strange, but I think he'll do well. I think he'll go far, Cordina.
Yeah, definitely.
There's some titles down the line for him, 100%. Who's next? Josh Kelly?
Moving on, Josh Kelly. Oh my God, this geezer. He's my favourite, I think, coming in. I absolutely love this guy. He was fighting a guy, Carlos Molina. Now, everybody was saying to me, oh, this is an easy fight. You know, I've got friends at work, we talk about boxing. They ain't really got a clue about boxing, but they like to talk about it and talk a good game. And they were saying, yeah, he'll knock him out in 1-2 rounds. And I'm saying, listen, that ain't happening.
They're not, they've seen the fucking clips going around of Josh
of
Kelly.
him with them 20 left hooks in 15 seconds.
Anyone that thought he was going to bomb Molina out, it's fucking crazy, ridiculous.
You know, I looked at Molina, and obviously I know him because I've seen quite a few fights of him, but he's lost to, you know, Julio Chavez Jr., Mike Alvarado and James Kirkland, but he's beaten Kermit Citron, Corey Spinks and Ishe Smith, which is is, that's decent names to have on your record. And to fight, Josh Kelly after a few fights, I thought this is a big step up. But listen, Josh Kelly was phenomenal.
I think it was very good matchmaking. It was very good matchmaking.
Yeah, he's coming towards the end, isn't he?
Towards the end, and I believe that was at, wasn't he world champion at light welter? I might be wrong, but you look at him and you think, what did he really offer coming forward? He kind of was there.
I think he was there, but that's why I liked the fight, because he was just in his face the whole time, wasn't he? He wasn't really taking a step back. He was just there, and I think everybody that Josh Kelly has fought, when he's hit them, they've taken a step back, they've run away, or they've just been knocked clean out. Yeah. So I think it was great for him, definitely.
I had a conversation on Twitter about this. My man Riku was. We were both tweeting about it, obviously, and it was, I love watching Josh Kelly. I think his style is fun to watch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But do you think he's going to be able to get away with that, the higher level? Now, Riku's point was, and it's a very, very good point, and we won't know yet, but is he getting himself into bad habits for when he steps up to... Imagine he fought a Spence Jr. down the line, 2 or 3 years, I don't know.
Yeah.
You ain't going to box Spence Jr. the way you boxed Molina last night.
Not at all.
So, is it a bad habit to get yourself into? It's a good question, and it's a good point that... Listen, I enjoy it. I think it's exciting to watch. It's different from the norm. It's fun. He looks like he's having fun. I like it. But is that going to hold him in good stead in a few years when he comes up against European level, or well, maybe not even European level, but world level in a couple of years?
Just to go back to your earlier question, Sam, Carlos Molina actually won it as super welterweight. He come down for that.
He came down.
Yeah. So there we go. So he's naturally a bigger guy, but he's not a puncher. He's it was tailor made for Josh Kelly, wasn't it? He's not a puncher. He was never going to hurt him. But he was going to stand there for 10, 12 rounds, whatever it was, and just suck up everything. And I think there was one thing I was a bit disappointed with Josh Kelly, and I don't say that very often. He didn't seem to have a plan B. He said that afterwards. He said that on the Sky commentary, he said that the guy was slower than I thought, and that made him awkward. Well, if he was slower, surely you should have been able to hit him harder or hit him more times, you know. But he said, he was so slow that it was awkward to hit him, and I thought, I didn't understand that comment one bit, but there we go. But yeah, I think he needs to.
Do you think that style holds up at the higher caliber of fighter?
I think it does, but it has to have a plan B. If it's not working, he has to have a plan B, and that it wasn't work. It was working for a points win. But if he wanted a knockout, to be honest, I watched an interview with Josh Kelly a week before, and he said, I want to go rounds. So maybe it was just him, wanting to go rounds, wanting to enjoy the fight and beat someone up, because that's what he did.
Yeah, he did. Good test for him, I guess, on paper.
Yeah, on paper.
It turned out to be a great... What was the score in the end? Was it 119, 109?
It was 8 or 9 rounds, wasn't it? So,
convincing.
It was very convincing.
Was it Crawler next up? Anthony Crawler?
Don't know if it was Crawler or Burnett, one of them.
Fuck, no, Burnett was just before Price with Atkins, so it would have been Crawler next. That was a bore fest. Listen, I've been a Crawler fan. How many years?
Both have, mate.
How many years? I remember watching this guy in the small hall scenes when he couldn't barely get any footage. I remember the Derry Matthews lost after a draw with him or before, whatever. I remember him way before he was fighting.
Yeah, when he was famous.
Yeah. I've always loved Crawler. Now, at this stage of his career, he believes he's got one more world title shot in him. Who are we to tell him he's not? Listen, he's been in with Linares. He went through some bad shit. Like, the guy nearly died. He got done over the canister with a... So listen, I've got nothing but love for Crawler, but I don't think that was a good performance last night. Was it Edson Ramirez, wasn't it? Was his name?
Edson Ramirez, that's it.
It kind of felt like he was going through the motions at times. Like, I don't think he did anything particularly badly, but...
Yeah, it wasn't great. It was the time to go and make a cup of tea, wasn't it? It was pretty boring. Now, I love Crawler.
You didn't have a beer last night? Not one beer?
I don't drink anymore, do I, mate? So.
Do you know what I had? I had one of them kegs. They do them in Morrison's.
Oh, nice.
And they're shit.
Really?
Well, I bought 2. I bought the Desperado one.
The one you pour into the pint?
Yeah, so I bought the Desperado one, which I ain't had yet. I'm saving that. But I got the Black Fruit Strongbow one. Just weren't fizzy, bruv.
Really?
It was like fucking Dilute.
Did you check the sell-by date before you brought it?
I drunk it all before I had time. I mean, I still drunk it. I'm still a man, but yeah, it wasn't great.
But yeah, pretty much like the fight. So it was a bit disappointment all round, was it?
That's exactly it.
But yeah, no. Listen, as we say, we love Crolla. He's come from amazing. Losing to Gary Sykes twice. It's
was it twice?
And then Derry Matthews. Yeah, he lost in that.
Prize fight. Yeah.
And lost on points before, a couple of years before, and then Derry Matthews knocking him out, stuff like that. They're sort of British level fighters, aren't they?
Yeah.
And then to see where he's come from to become a world champion, you've just got to take your hat off to him. And obviously, the other things that happen with him getting smashed over the head and stuff. But you've got to respect him. I'm just not sure. At the age he is, and he is still only 31, isn't he?
He's a long time.
But he's an old 31.
How many fights he have? 40?
He's had 42.
42.
So but he's an old 31-year-old. He's been through so much. So many beatings and so many hard fights in and out the ring. He's an old 31, but he looked an old 31 yesterday.
Do you reckon? Yeah.
I didn't think
it's weird. How old is Ricky Burns? You think he beat Burns last time out in October? So what they said was essentially this was not keep busy fight, but he needed a fight until he.
Yeah.
I'd like to see him and Campbell.
I think Campbell destroys him
just
on movement. Yeah, I think he's a typical Joe Gallagher fighter, isn't he? Hands up, come out, throw the 1-2, and that's it. With someone like Luke Campbell, he'll dance around him and hit him at different angles, and I think he's more powerful than Crolla as well. So I think it's an interesting fight, but it's probably one to make a lot of money and leave the boxing.
Maybe I don't know what else you do with Crolla. Is my problem.
Yeah, I don't see Crolla beating him and then going on for this last world title. No. I don't see it. I think that's a bad fight, unless he wants to have one more, make a load of money and leave. I think that's a bad fight for Crolla. I really do.
Maybe Eddie could get some. I don't want to say a cheap way, but sometimes if one of these titles becomes vacant,
100%.
Crolla's a former world champion. Eddie can sprinkle a bit of magic and get the fight. It's possible he could get him another world title fight, but realistically, he's not top table, is he, Crolla? What was he ever? Was he ever top table?
I think he done well to get his world title. Definitely.
Yeah, no, I agree. Ryan Burnett, we touched on him earlier.
Yeah.
Is it just me, right? Now, I love seeing him and Kelly on the pads at the same time.
Yep.
It's fucking impressive. I've always been a Booth fan. Always loved Adam Booth. But Burnett is the world champion here, and he kind of seems like he's morphing into Josh Kelly.
Mate, I was just going to bring that up. What was his movement about? It looked so... it looked
unnatural for him.
That's what I was going to say. It looked like a poor man Josh Kelly, innit? It looked like, he's taught me this in the gym. I'm going to try it out, and he just didn't have the same fluidity. Is that the right word? I hope it is.
It's a good word.
I hope it's the right word. He didn't have the same fluidity at all, and it just looked terrible. It looked like it was forced. I think that's the right word as well. It just looked like forced fun.
To be fair to him, apparently he bust his hand up early doors.
Yeah, he said round 3, didn't he?
Is that what I don't watch the post fights.
Yeah, he said he had his hand round 3, but it didn't mean he could mess around with his legs like that. It looked. And I like Ryan, but I think he's an honest, hard grafter and a hard fighter. But yeah, it's listen. I think if that was all true, I think that's probably the reason why he didn't stop the guy. But the guy's a hard geezer. He's not...
What's his name?
His name is Jonfres Parejo.
Or Parejo, as they kept calling him.
But yeah, he's 21. He's lost 3 times now, and he's only been knocked out once.
He's 21?
So 21-0.
Oh, I thought you said he was 21.
3, sorry.
How old is he? I thought that cunt had hard paper out.
Yeah, he's 31. But he's only ever been knocked out once, so you've got to give him a bit of credit. But listen, if he did bust up his hand, I think that maybe is the reason. But again, it was another points win that did you find it set light?
I can't even remember why. I remember hearing this before, but that was for the WBA title last night, but not his IBF title. And I can't remember the reason behind it. Someone will have to remind me when this goes out. I can't remember the reasoning, but obviously he's a unified champion, Burnett. He's got a WBA and IBF. Yeah, that's right. It was only for the WBA. Yeah, you're right. I can't remember why. There was a reason. I can't remember why. Slightly strange, isn't it?
Is it? I don't know. What's the IBF? Is there any reason that the Venezuelan geezer can't fight for it?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Or maybe it was his world rankings because he was so, he's 27th. Yeah, maybe. He's 27th in the world, mate.
There could be a lot of things to it, but this wasn't one of them situations where it was like a different You know, some of the governing bodies have like a check weight and stuff. It wasn't one of those. I don't believe, because this was in advance. We knew this wasn't going to be. And I can't remember why.
Jesus, that doesn't look good, does it? He's 27th in the world, and Stuart Hall's 25th.
Fucking hell.
I'm just looking at it while we're doing this. That sort of shows you the level. So really, Burnett should have done him in 2.
So there's two situations now that occur. I don't believe the Tete fight happens, which is a shame, because I think it might even be last week's one with Richie, but it's starting to annoy me how Warren and Hearn won't work together.
Yeah,
it's pathetic, isn't it?
Listen, I think Frank Buglioni's very happy that he didn't get the fight with Anthony Yard, don't he? But yeah, no, I don't know, mate. It's ridiculous, isn't it? They're just, their egos are so big, the pair of them, that one of them won't give in. So the fight fans end up losing.
I think Warren hates Hearn more than Hearn hates Warren, though.
I think they hate each other equally.
Nah, I disagree.
I really do.
I think Warren looks at Hearn and goes, "This little upstart piece of shit, silver spoon, blah blah blah."
I think if his dad got involved, I think they could make a deal.
Yeah, maybe.
100%.
Maybe.
I think if his dad got involved, I think Warren just will not. I think the way he looks at it, like, I've been here for ages. You've just come here and taken over, you little.
But he literally has taken over.
100%. There's no doubt about it. Even with Warren now having BT Sport, it ain't made much of a difference.
No, it ain't, because he ain't putting on the good cards yet.
No.
Apparently, bantamweights are going to be in the next World Boxing Super Series. That's the rumour. You think about it, right? Inoue or McDonnell, because Inoue, they're coming up from Superfly. So if Tete could get in that, and we could get Tete against, because obviously that takes it away from the promoters. Then, if we could have Tete and Burnett in a unification in the World Boxing Super Series, I'd be happy. I don't always enjoy a lot of the smaller weights, if I'm being honest.
I was just going to say it. Unless it's super middle up to heavy, I'm not really. There are fighters at that weight.
Are we casuals then, Kev? A pretty casual statement, isn't it?
I don't think we're casuals, but I just, I like to watch I like to watch knockouts, as much as I respect, the actual, the art of boxing. I love a knockout, and it does, I think the lighter weights, I watch every single boxing event, so I can't sit here and say that, but I'm not sure I would sit there and pay money to watch 2 fighters that I don't know at a lower weight. I'd probably pay money to watch 2 fighters at heavyweight that I wasn't that keen on.
Yeah.
Because as you know, Sam, I've brought some serious shit over the years.
You buy everything, that's why.
Yeah, I do. So I probably still would buy it.
I don't know what I'm after. When I watch the smaller weights, I don't know what I'm after. Like, it should be more about the skill, shouldn't it? Like, I can't sit here and bang the drum for a boxer like Lerone, who doesn't get many knockouts, and then be a massive hypocrite and go, "Oh yeah, but there's no knockouts down here, so that it bores me." I don't know what I'm after. Like, I kind of feel the same about it as I do about women's boxing. I'm not against it. Like,
That's a harsh statement.
No, I'm not even. No, I'm deadly serious. I don't mean that insultingly. It's just I want something different, and I can't put my finger on what it is. Like Ryan Burnett last night looked classy at times. Yep. He did the things Josh Kelly did, which I enjoyed, but still I wasn't happy, and I don't know why. I can't put my finger on it. Maybe it's on me. Maybe I'm just never happy. Maybe I'm like all of boxing Twitter and just whinge constantly, but. Nah, I don't know. I don't know what something feels like it's missing for me. I don't know if it's the excitement. Maybe it's that I want 2 genuine world title challenges that I believe either could win. Maybe I just want 50-50s. Because there was times last night, that card, especially the way it panned out, it was home corner, beats up away corner.
Oh, every fight.
Apart from the first fight of the night that weren't on Sky. The Welsh kid got spanked out with like 10 seconds to go.
Wow.
Morgan Jones, I believe his name was. But so that was a home versus away corner, essentially, is what it turned into last night, wasn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And besides the next one we're moving on to,
Price Povetkin, right? Price, although he was English geezer, he came out first. He wasn't in the blue corner. So home corner is how, when I say it's how it's billed, as in the first, it was Kelly versus Molina, it was Crawler versus Ramirez, it was Povetkin versus Price. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
All of the first namers won.
You can't call Povetkin a home name, mate. Leave it alone.
I'm not saying he's a home name, but I'm pretty sure he was the home fighter.
He was probably the home fighter. Yeah, you're right.
Because I don't know who's Price with. He used to be with the Sauerlands, didn't he? I don't know who he is anymore.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe he was a free agent. I don't know. It's probably not relevant.
Yeah.
But let's talk about that fight. There's actually quite a few questions about the fight, which we'll come to afterwards. For you, sum up the fight, and was it a mismatch?
Shockingly, mate. Shockingly. I've watched David Price for a number of years. I've watched him probably from his 4th or 5th fight when he started to be televised. Been to a few shows where I've seen him. And early on, I've thought to myself, Jesus, this guy's going to be a world champion. And I was sucking him. I thought, wow, this guy has got so much power, it's ridiculous. But what we didn't see was him go past 3 or 4 rounds very early on. And then he gets in the ring, as we all know, with a decent fighter and got absolutely blown away. I know there's a lot of excuses out there about he's fought a lot of drug cheats and all this stuff.
Is that an excuse?
I think it's an excuse, yeah. I think it's an excuse. I think it's... I look at it as an excuse. I think, you know, Povetkin, again, is another guy that got done for drugs, so why is he fighting him? You know, if you're that dead against saying that, and I think Price did come out and say he'd never fight a drug cheat ever again, and then gets in with Povetkin. But going back to the fight, because I've gone off topic a bit there, it was what I expected, but I expected it to happen in the 3rd or 4th round, and it nearly did. It nearly did happen in the 3rd round when Price was put on his backside. One thing I did like, and I sort of then went back 10 years or 5 years and thought he's going to do this, was when he beat the canvas when he was on the floor. Because usually he gets up and he's walking around flopping around, and he beat the canvas down, and he was, you know, you could see he was angry at himself, and he got up and his legs weren't, you know, I was expecting him to be falling all around the place, and his legs weren't, you know, they looked good. Got up and then, you know, caught him and knocked him all the way back, and I thought, oh my God, this is going to happen. And then obviously, you know, I think the problem with Price is he gets a bit of success against a good fighter and then just forgets everything, because he just you know, I don't know what it is about. If I was training David Price, I would let him take every punch in his face, because he's not the best looking geezer, but I would literally get him to hold his gloves over his ears, because when he gets hit around the back of the head, you know, just behind the ear, Jesus, his whole body just goes. And it happens to a lot of people, but for him, it's like he's got a weak spot just around the side of his head. So I'd literally just get him to hold his gloves there and throw punches, because that would stop that. But I don't know, listen, I expected that ending. The funniest thing about that was Tony Bellew, and I know they're best friends, but he was nearly crying, you know, and he was like, I'm heartbroken, wherever his accent's from. But I was literally wetting myself watching it. He was literally distraught, like he'd just been knocked out like that. But yeah, it was very, very funny. What did you think of it?
It's hard, yeah. When it's hard to be that I told you so. Do you know what I mean? Because
yeah.
You can't say Price didn't have any success. He ended up getting. Well, it wasn't an official knockdown, but it was scored a knockdown, right? Now, you don't see, right, fuck me, he looked like Bambi at one point, Povetkin. Yeah. He sort of fell back like Paul Alcock when Paolo Di Canio pushed him all them years ago, didn't he? He just kept going and going and going. But it was strange, it was a standing 8 count rather. Yeah. But apart from that, he doesn't throw his jab enough. There was no right hands coming over. And I don't know what the tactics were. I thought for Price to win it, and I'm going to tell you now, I had a 5 on Price. I just thought it's his last throw of the dice. I didn't really see him win, but he was a wide and a rank outsider. So, and I wanted him to win. Like I did. I wanted him to beat Povetkin. I'm not going to say I didn't, but it was strange. First of all, he took the fight with a guy that's failed a drug test before, after he's been so adamant in the past about it. I also get it was a massive opportunity. But he doesn't throw the jab enough for me. He doesn't keep it at range enough when he has one of the biggest reaches in fucking boxing. Guy, isn't he? And he always looks vulnerable, and it's not a good mix. Yeah. When he got dropped, you're right. I was happy. I was like, shit, he's all right. He's pissed off, but he's not hurt. Like he was just. And then he got up and he ended up landing a good shot, which threw Povetkin across the ring. And then the 5th round came, and I was scared. and then he caught that overhand right that hit him clean on the temple, and he was unconscious on his feet.
Yeah.
Like,
and then that second punch just.
So obviously, when that hit his temple, he's gone, and essentially the brain has switched off at that point because his hands come down to his stomach and his waist.
But it happens all the time, doesn't it? He must have a really weak spot there.
I don't know. He's just taken a lot, and these guys are big guys, man. Like, that's not a normal.
He reminds me of a Tom Dallas if he keeps boxing. Do you know that?
Yeah.
I was thinking about that last night, and I thought, if he carries on going, he's going to end up like Tom Dallas, where he just gets caught with a jab and gets knocked out. Yeah. Because he's going to end up.
Well, David Allen knocked Tom Dallas out by accident.
I know. We were there.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what reminded me of it, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, MTK, and he knocked him out by accident.
And he was embarrassed.
He was embarrassed.
Like, oh my God, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know, I've never seen a fighter. Right, I've never seen a fighter apologise for knocking an opponent out. But
and one of the questions, I've lost who sent everything in, but one of the questions, is it time for him to hang him up now? That might have been Humber, actually, who works for the website. Is it time for him to hang him up? We've had this discussion about lots of people. Who can tell him it's time?
Yeah.
He has to, though, right? Like, unless he wants to go and fight at a small hall level, I don't believe he does. Like, it might be a little.
I don't know. I would back him against Sexton for the British title.
I don't know.
But does he want to go there again? Do you know what I mean? Or is that, let's be honest about it, that's his level, isn't it?
Sexton, or you mean the British?
British. I think British European is probably his. But then he fought Teka, didn't he?
Tepper, yeah.
Tepper
another guy that failed a drug test.
Yeah, but he still knocked him out, mate.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not condoning drug takers in sport at all. But I'm not sure how much it makes a difference. I'd like to know, and I don't think you're ever going to find that out.
The way I look at it, most guys will do. Listen, I might be wrong, but when you think of it, you think it'll be for stamina, endurance, longevity. I don't think it would add more power to you for a second round knockout. But I might be wrong. There might be something out there that makes your bones feel like fucking bricks. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know, but we're going off topic again. But
it's alright. We've got loads of time.
I don't know. I think there's just a lot of excuses.
If you're in Price's family, do you tell him to hang him up?
If Price was my son,
you ain't that old. You're getting on.
No, but if Price, you're a dickhead. If Price was my son, and I do have a son, I would have probably told him after the third knockout. Come on, son, it's enough. He
achieved a lot. British and Commonwealth.
Listen, you have to respect him. He was British, Commonwealth. He'd done well, but you've got to at one stage say, I think it's now. Carry on fighting at this level, or give up. And I'm not sure David Price wants to fight at British level.
Yeah,
I think that's his level. I think that's where he wins titles and looks good. But I don't think that's where he wants to.
Do you know what's a mad thought, right? If he'd have, imagine the ref had waved it off when Povetkin was hurt or stumbled anyway. Imagine by something crazy, Price won that fight, right? He would have been Anthony Joshua's mandatory for the WBA.
But remember, he did knock him down in sparring.
Fucking 10 years ago when he was a pro. But do you know what I mean? And
no,
that would have been a dangerous fight. Like, that would have been a dangerous fight.
Oh yeah, he would have. That could have.
I mean, listen, he ended up getting a really bad knockout.
Yeah.
Anyway, a couple of people were saying, "Oh, the ref should have been closer." I am the first person in the world to bash Howard Foster, right?
Yeah.
But when that right hook landed onto the temple, it wasn't. I don't know. I think maybe he should have been a little bit closer. I still blame him for Louis Adolphe getting the disqualification when he knocked out. Who did he knock out on the Groves Cox undercard? I blame the ref for that one. So I don't like the ref. It was a difficult one. He should have been slightly closer, but I don't think he could have stopped that left hook either way.
I don't know. I watched it and I saw the punch. It was the right, wasn't it? The first one.
The first one was the right.
The first one was the right into the temple, and I didn't think it was a big punch. And I'm watching it on telly. I'm seeing it close up. I didn't think it was a big punch, and it was literally probably 2 seconds where his hands dropped and then the left came over. I think you're asking a lot of Howard Foster to run in or to be close enough to stop.
How are you going to stop that?
But I didn't even when I first saw it. I didn't look at it and say he's out on his feet. I had to watch the replay and realise, shit, his hands dropped.
Yeah.
And he was out. So I think that's hard. to blame Howard Foster. And listen, I don't like him because of what he did to my mate Grovesy against Frotch in the first one. So
he cost me a lot of money that first fight.
Yeah, well, I think it cost everyone a lot of money. But regardless of that, I don't like him as a ref, but I don't think you can blame him on that one.
Jamie Ingleby asked about that fight. Thoughts on the standing 8 count? Could Price have blasted Povetkin given the opportunity in those remaining seconds? So, if you look at it, right, it was a strange one in a way that he gave the standing 8 count, but
I'm not sure it was, because I think the rules got. Listen, maybe someone will come on who has more knowledge with me. I think the rules are something along the lines of if they are falling into the ropes, you can do a standing 8 count.
Yeah, I've seen the ones I've seen.
I don't know the actual wordings. Is because if the ropes weren't there, it's a bit like when you're driving down the road and someone turns off of a side road and crashes into you. It's their fault, isn't it? Because you could have carried on going.
What the fuck has that got to do with the ropes?
Because if the ropes weren't there, he would have fallen down. So it's the same kind
I don't get the car analogy, not one bit.
No?
No.
Anyway, I thought it worked. Okay. So yeah, if the ropes weren't there, he would have gone down. Yeah. So I think that's the standing. That's why he got the standing 8 count. If he didn't do that, would Price then have blasted him out? Who knows? Who knows?
I think the ref was doing his job at that point. I can't believe I've defended him twice, man. But at that point, I think he's probably thinking more about Povetkin, his health, and maybe he would have dropped. He would have hit the deck if the ropes weren't there.
100%.
So for his own safety, he had to probably give the standing 8 count. A couple more questions sort of regarding this fight. Obviously, we saw Dillian Whyte afterwards. Listen, he said, like, fuck it, I'll fight him. Like, Dillian, he is not scared of fighting anyone. Like, that's whether you like him or not. Some people don't, some people do. He will fight anyone, anytime. I don't believe for 1 minute there's anyone he wouldn't fight in the world. So the question is from young Ramez Mahmood. You remember Ramez?
Yeah. He was on a pod with us, wasn't he?
He is, young Feather.
The mathematician.
Magician,
yes. There we go.
Top boy. Is there an interest in Povetkin versus Whyte? If Povetkin is made mandatory for AJ, do you think he'd accept step-aside money that would then pave the way for Joshua Wilder? So you said this to me before we started recording. Do you think you could make a case?
I don't want to see Whyte Povetkin.
Yeah.
I don't. And I'm a massive Dillian Whyte fan. I love watching him. I think he's a fantastic boxer. I love his aggression. I love the way he fights. But Dillian Whyte, if I'm right, is number one to fight Wilder.
He's number one. They haven't. The WBC haven't officially made him the mandatory at this point, as far as I'm aware, because apparently Brazil still knocking about.
Yeah. So anyway, regardless of that, so he's number one to fight Wilder. So we hope that then happens. You've then got Povetkin, who's number one to fight Joshua on 2 of the organisations. Why don't they get their heads together, have them 2 fights? How amazing would it be on the same bill to have them 2 fights?
Povetkin against
Joshua Povetkin, and then Wilder, Dillian Whyte. Amazing. That would be phenomenal. I don't know if there's enough money to have all of them on there, if I'm honest.
I think there's too much ego, because they're all going to want
Wilder
paying.
would want to be the last fight. Joshua would want to be the last fight.
They'd all want paying.
I think them 2 fights need to happen, and I reckon there should be in the contract the winner of each fights. I think that's what it should be. Because I think that would set it up. I think that would be mouth-watering.
It's a good. I know Dillian will fight anyone.
Yeah, 100%.
What would he gain? What would he gain for beating Povetkin right now?
Nothing.
Because
probably the status.
Well, yeah, but he's in line to fight Deontay.
Yeah.
The Joshua fight is a natural fight at any point that can be made because of the past, because of everything. So that doesn't need to be built by him earning a WBA mandatory slot. It doesn't need to. The only reason he'd take the fight is if Eddie might have said to him, listen, we're going to make Wilder Joshua and we want you to have a stay busy fight or something like that.
But is Povetkin a stay busy fight? Povetkin's a dangerous motherfucker.
He is.
He's dangerous. I wouldn't want. I would rather see Whyte knocked out by Wilder than to see Whyte knocked out by Povetkin.
Yeah.
Because at least he's then fought for a world title. Povetkin has nothing for Whyte. Nothing. He's already number one for the WBC. He doesn't need to be number one for the other 2 belts. He doesn't need it. I think that's a dangerous fight for White when he should be fighting Wilder now for a world championship. And if imagine he beats him. Him, Joshua, White be? Mate, you'd have to get 2 stadiums, push them together. You know, you would. You'd have to get 2
or
stadiums.
you just double the price.
Yeah, well, whatever. But that's going to be that would be huge. So
that would be massive. No, I'm inclined to agree with you. I don't see the need for Povetkin White. The only way. I mean, so answer this though. If you're Dillian White and Eddie has said to you, I've got Wilder and Joshua close. So basically, looks like I'm going to have Wilder and Joshua in the undisputed fight, right? Who do you want to fight? And you look around and you go, I don't know. You know what I mean? Who does Dillian White fight in the summer if Joshua and Wilder are unavailable?
If they both fight, then the Povetkin fight, as long as they get to fight the winner of that, I would take if I was White.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but as long as you know you can't fight
as long as I know I am going to fight the winner of Joshua Wilder, and it's all there, we've signed it, it's done, I would take the Povetkin fight. But I don't see, if that isn't done and Joshua Wilder isn't signed, I don't see any point in him getting that. They must have paid him a few quid to step aside though.
Who?
White.
You mean Povetkin?
White and Povetkin.
Wilder ain't stepped aside for no one yet. White. He's only just got himself in that spot, isn't he?
Yeah.
Povetkin didn't have to fight Price last night.
I know.
So he may have had step aside money.
But I think he done that to excite I think he knew in his heart of hearts, I'm going to destroy David Price.
And then people that have seen me do that.
People see me knock him out, and then when I do get to fight Joshua, the money.
There you go. Yeah, you're right.
I think that's what was done there.
If you imagine a casual fan who just goes to Joshua fights, he's now seen this big Russian bomb out the Liverpudlian.
There's this 6'8" Liverpudlian who's massive.
Exactly. So there's the story I made for you.
That's Eddie Hearn doing very good business. Just in case Wilder doesn't fight, this is the backup. But look at that. Yeah. Look what he did to Price. Yeah, that's brilliant business.
And if Price had won, fucking win-win.
Exactly. Everyone's a winner.
Yeah, but so let's go on to the Joshua fight. Most of the questions are about that fight. There's a couple to catch up on afterwards. So we're moving on. The big one, I should say. The big one. I can't even remember the stat that Eddie rattled off. 2 undefeated world champion heavyweights for the first time fighting in England. It's fantastic. It's amazing. It wasn't really amazing, was it?
That impression of Eddie Hearn was still as bad as mine. Tony Bellingham earlier.
That wasn't so much Eddie. That was the people that he fed the lines to. That was Adam Smith.
Fair enough.
I don't want to downplay the event, right? Because it was impressive to have that, I guess.
Yeah. Do you know what? It was big man, small man, wasn't it? And unfortunately, the small man didn't have enough to get inside the big man and do something. But I'm just going to throw it out now because I need to, because it really fucked me off. What the fuck was that ref doing?
We've got so many questions about the ref.
It reminded me so much of Joe Cortez, Hatton, Mayweather. It was just, it stunk of it. It really did. And Joseph Parker, bless his heart, because I will say that, because I think he fucking tried. Every time he got close, and in close, he did seem to rattle Joshua a couple of times. And got stopped, got told to break, and it was awful because that when you're fighting a guy who is as big as Joshua with an 8-inch reach advantage and 4 inches taller, you've got to get inside, hold, rough him up, turn it into a dog fight, a street fight. And a prime example, Dillian White, Joshua didn't like it that close. Dillian White hurt him during the fight and stuff like that. Joseph Parker, bless him, didn't have the chance to get involved, to rough him up, to hurt him, and he was never going to beat him on the outside, never. So it was a bit of a stop-start from or a bit of a non-entity from the start for me. I thought the ref just completely ruined the whole fight. But hats off to Joshua, he showed us he can go 12. He showed us he can box on the back foot because It was the first time
Did we? He was the one walking forward all night.
But he was walking forward, but it was so. But then every time Joseph Parker tried to get in, it got told to break. So as much as he was walking forward, he was still. I think he was still. Mate, after 4 rounds, he asked his trainer, "Have I thrown the right hand yet?" Come on!
Who said that, Parker?
No! Anthony Joshua said it to his trainer. "Have I thrown the right hand yet?" And he was like, "Nah." He goes, "Right, I'll throw it this round." It's like, come on, mate.
He was just walking down.
Are you just having a sparring session, or what is going on here? And I think it was a lot of it was down to the ref, but I think Joshua wanted to do it at his pace, his style, and show people that he can actually go 12 and box and win. I don't think that was not Anthony Joshua, the destroyer that we've seen previously. That was Anthony Joshua taking his time, which is not a bad thing. Let's not knock him. But Joseph Parker was limited by the referee, because I think the success he had. I remember one shot. They were in close. Joshua had his arm, and it was a right uppercut to Joshua's body. And Joshua stepped back and was like, took in a massive breath. But then from that, I think it was round 4, I think that was. And I saw it, and his legs sort of moved back. He stepped back. And from then, the ref just didn't let them clinch.
Yep.
And I'm not using that as an excuse. I wanted, obviously, Anthony Joshua. I like Joseph Parker. I think he's a very, very nice man.
Yes, agreed.
I think he's a great family man. I think he's a
good champion.
Respect
he's a good
to
role
him,
model.
massively respect to him. But I just think he wasn't allowed to fight, and that's disappointing.
I said exactly the same thing this morning, that Joe Cortez reffing Mayweather Hatton reminded me exactly, it completely reminded me of that. There's a lot of things to go over about the fight. Adam Noble Forsey, who did a website with, said, are we not giving Joshua enough credit? Yes, it wasn't an explosive, exciting fight. The ref had his flaws, yes. But in his opinion, Joshua takes the big fights. He doesn't believe he's ducking anyone. He sort of has stepped up in these early stages of his career. And that's hard to deny. He beat, what's his name? The geezer that was given the Charles Martin, that won the world title by default. And he sold the title to Eddie and AJ, yeah?
Yeah.
Let's not be... That's the truth of it, right? And yeah, he's gone on to fight Klitschko, although people will ask questions about the timing of Klitschko and his career. Parker. So yeah, let's give him some praise for taking these fights.
I'm going to butt in here, and Adam, I would agree with you about how good he's been and how he dominated the fight and everything else. So if the ref weren't butting in, I think if he dominated the way Parker, the way he did with inside boxing and being close and being roughed up and taking it and moving on, then I would say respect 100%. I think on that fight there's nothing really positive to come out of that fight. I don't think there's anything positive to come out of that fight. But listen, his career, you can't knock it. He's been phenomenal throughout his career, and he's taken every challenger without a doubt.
Yeah. He does need a little bit of praise for that, and also praise that last night probably wasn't how he expected it to go in many ways. He can't control the ref, let's put it that way.
Yeah, 100%.
But he would have, I imagine he would have thought he would connect more. He believed he'd have Parker in trouble, which he never really did. Parker never looked hurt for a second.
Besides the cut on Parker's eye, it looked like both of them weren't in a boxing match.
Yeah.
And I think that was from a headbutt. So there was nothing, literally, from the pair of them. There was no bruising. There was nothing, was there?
We were rudely interrupted by children. Fucking selfish.
Apologies.
You were saying, they didn't. It wasn't really marked up. Joshua didn't really have him in any trouble.
No.
I can't. It's such a difficult one. Like, we can't expect Joshua to blow everyone out, right? And especially Joseph Parker, who, as we know, David Higgins has made it fucking abundantly clear.
He's never been down in 750,000 fights or rounds of boxing.
Even when he was on the pads at 3 years old with his dad, which, fair enough.
Still didn't get dropped.
Tough man.
Yeah, hard.
The range and the reach was a horrible disadvantage. He needed to do some body work up close, and he wasn't allowed to do that. Would that have had a bearing on the fight? Well, I guess we'll never know.
I'm going to throw something out here. I'd like to see it again. But with a different referee.
But let me just say this before.
I really would.
before we continue, we've got so many questions about the ref. So I'm going to sort of throw them all in under this banner, right? Craig Scott, we moan when fights turn into holding or grappling matches. Could it be that the ref was trying to keep the fight honest by splitting both men up after very little work inside? Yes, apart from the fact that within a second of them tying up, he was breaking it. There was a point when they were both on the ropes in maybe the 5th or 6th round, and they were both going for it. They were both banging out.
That's what you want to see.
And the ref's fighting to jump in between.
He's in between them. He's nearly taken 2 or 3 himself.
Unbelievable. Let them fight out occasionally. Yeah. If it's
but there was none of that. You know where they throw a punch and they actually break themselves, but they're still close enough to still throw something. Yeah. There was none of that. And what frustrated me with the ref was he broke them and then pushed them to the ropes either side. Yeah. So then they've got to come back in again.
There was even a point, right, where Parker was doing some inside work. He threw 3 or 4 body hooks, right? And Joshua threw like a big uppercut after they sort of broke. And they gave each other a little look and it was like, but that was... Like, that is boxing. That is boxing. Like, the inside game 100%. Is part of boxing.
How many times have you seen someone on the inside take an uppercut and get knocked out? Joshua's done it to a few opponents, you know, and it just wasn't allowed.
Otherwise, we are saying if you are taller than the guy at your weight, you're allowed to win because you're not allowed to work on the inside.
100%.
Do you know what I mean? So that's...
And I would say that's what a lot of that's probably what a lot of Kevin Barry was saying. Getting close. Work, you know, how many times did you say to him, 1, 2, work the body? He said that nearly enough every round.
So if that was their game plan, they've trained for 10 or 12 weeks and it's gone. Then what?
I agree.
Pulling the Punch asks, what made the fight into the disappointment it was? Ref not allowing clinching or both fighters constantly clinching anyway? Again, I don't really think... Listen, they were clinching at times, but it wasn't like 10 or 12 or 15 second clinches. They were just tying up for a second or two.
I think Joshua. I think Parker was coming in head down, trying to go for the body. I think Joshua knew he was bigger, knew he was stronger, and tied him up a lot of the time. So I think it was good from Joshua. I think he knew what he was doing. I think the referee helped him hugely by every time Parker got him, he literally broke it because Joshua then knew that. Every time he comes in, I'm going to grab him. We're going to get broken. It's going to start again. And I think Joshua was very comfortable with his jab, seeing Parker that far away, and knowing when he got close, if I grab him, it's going to be taken back to that starting position again. So I think Anthony Joshua, fair play to him.
That was another question, Rob Cass. How much do you think the ref impacted on Parker's chances, or did it have any impact at all?
Yeah.
His game plan, I would imagine, would have been get close.
Yeah, 100%.
There was times when they stood next to each other in the ring and you thought, Joshua looks huge next to him.
Massive.
Like, Parker ain't a big heavyweight.
No.
So he was never going to be able to box how he has done in his previous however many fights against Kajanu and these guys. Like, Takam is his height. You know what I mean? But when he needed to change it up and do something different against a bigger man, he wasn't allowed to. I don't know if for all we know, Joshua's plan B was better than Parker. You know what I mean? We don't know. We'll never know.
You'll never know, and that's the frustrating thing. But I do think he was hampered massively. But if they were fighting on the inside, would Anthony Joshua have hit him more times and knocked him out? Again, you never know.
Yeah.
So it's one of them things. That's why I'd like to see it again.
Umar Sadiq, 2-0 Frank Warren boxer, just sent in. What's the vetting process for referees on major events, and why can't someone have a word with him in between rounds?
That's not a bad shout.
Do you know what? I tweeted last night, you're telling me between the WBO, the WBA, and the IBF...
One of them couldn't have walked over and said, oi, let them fight. Stop breaking them up, mate.
Well, but I can't imagine that being allowed... But what
it would be nice though.
Why is the vetting pro? The guy had 7 world title fights, right?
Yeah.
You look at what's his name? Willis, is it? The guy that loves it.
Yeah.
He's had like say 40 or 50.
Yeah.
Who decided this was the guy for the fight?
Do you know what it was?
And I'd like to know.
I'll tell you what it was. Joseph Parker and his team said they wanted an independent,
a neutral
ref not from England, not from New Zealand.
That's fair enough. But they get this guy that's had 7 world title fights.
There must have been someone else out there. An American or some, anyone. You know, they brought over a buffer, didn't they? So why didn't they bring over a decent American ref?
Bring a ref with you, Michael.
Yeah. Well, it's the same. It wouldn't cost any more, would it? They get on the same private jet together.
And Umar's second point was, this is more of a point than a question, but refs performing shit should be able to get subbed during a fight. # bench him. Can you imagine? After 6 rounds.
You are shit. Get out.
Well, there's a fucking point. What if there was a rule? We have 6 rounds with one ref, 6 rounds with another ref. Can you imagine? One guy loves the inside fighting. One guy won't let anyone do any inside fighting. This is just coming right now as like 7 minutes ago. Umar tweeted this to us. So but thinking out loud, can you imagine? We've actually got 4 refs. They're going to do 3 rounds each.
I just think the refs there should be laws on what they can do and what they can't do. And I think I don't think a ref should have his own style. I don't think that's. But
we expect judges to be. We say in boxing it's subjective. People like an aggressive fighter, someone like a counter puncher.
No, I understand that.
But surely the ref is the same, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
He's a human being. He's going to have his own style. He got into boxing because he loves boxing. So in his own head, somewhere, he has a favoured style. Do you know what I mean? But how are you going to take that out of them?
But that's like saying a Premier League referee who supports Arsenal, refs Arsenal, and gives them all the. No, it shouldn't be like that. You're doing a job, mate. You're doing a job. You should stick to one platform of rules, and that's it. The holding, the stuff like that.
So what is the rule on inside work?
Because you're allowed to do inside work,
but then you just allow them to hold for 2 minutes?
No. The rule I believe is if they are clinching and nothing's happening, you break them. I think that's what the rule is. Yeah. So I think there's a certain period of seconds. If a punch isn't thrown,
5 or 6 seconds.
I don't know what it is exactly, but I think it might be 8 seconds or something like that. If a punch isn't thrown, you break them. I think if they're inside and they're working, I don't think the rule isn't you should be able to go in and break them. If you're working on the inside, mate, that's Mike Tyson would have been he'd have probably bitten his ear off yesterday. Wouldn't he? Because he was lucky.
Who the refs?
Yeah, the refs, exactly. Because the ref was in there enough. He could have taken a chunk. But you know what I mean? Mike Tyson loved getting in there and having a rough.
He was one of the smallest heavyweights.
Exactly. So he loved that. Imagine him with that ref. He probably would have knocked him clean out.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very detrimental to Parker's game plan and his advantages.
Yeah.
He didn't have the reach or the height advantage.
He had no advantage in that fight, even when he got inside, which would have then been maybe his advantage. He didn't get the opportunity. So it's sad.
Lots more questions. Let's try and rattle through them. The mayor of Brixton, Rob, said, "Do you just think the ref was homophobic? He couldn't stand the sight of 2 men hugging." It's very possible. Very possible. Any more questions on AJ himself? Oh, this is a very good question. This was sent in by... Where is it? I've just lost it. M. Dow. Good question. What do you make of Huey and Peter Fury tweeting saying they had a better performance against Parker but never got the decision? In the panel's opinion, are they correct? I love that we're a panel. Are they correct, or is it the usual everyone against us and we don't get anything stuff from them? So yeah, I mean, stylistically it couldn't have been much different, could it? Parker Fury was completely different stylistically from last night.
Huey Fury, I don't know how anyone can think he won that fight. Parker, for me, again, it was a fight that nothing really happened. But to lean on the ropes and not try and throw counters of a person coming in and missing completely, I don't see how that can win you a fight and win a world title.
My honest opinion, I've interviewed Peter a number of times. I think he's a top bloke. Yeah. I think I've got a lot of time for him, but I'm not buying that one bit.
No,
I don't believe you can look at that. Although, let me touch on this: the scorecards were fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, that's not going to do anything for any fighter looking at that and going, yeah, I'll go fight over there. Like, you ain't going to get a fair rub of the green because Joshua did not win 11 rounds as one judge decided.
No.
And he didn't win 10 rounds as the other two decided.
No.
I gave the 5th and the 6th to Parker with absolutely zero hesitation. And there was at least 2 of the final 6 I gave. I scored it 116, 112 to Joshua.
I had 4 rounds as well. Yeah, I agree.
4 rounds. Fair enough,
yeah.
He wins. But when you're giving one judge 11 rounds to 1, I think that's wrong. But I don't see Peter Fury's point. I don't understand.
Yeah, me neither.
I don't get it. Kev Morrow asks, top question this actually, I've noticed this myself. Have Dillian Whyte and AJ sorted out their differences behind the scenes? They seem to be constantly praising each other at the minute.
Now, I know.
Yeah, so Dillian said, I'm here for the British fighters. A couple of times they kind of, I wouldn't say praising each other, but they're alluding to the fact.
And Anthony Joshua quoting Dillian White yesterday.
Did he?
Did you not hear it?
I don't listen to the post.
Oh, you don't? He basically said something on the lines of, they said, so do you want to fight Wilder? And he went, well, as Dillian White said, come on, I want you. And he's giving it all that, and I was wetting myself.
The mates
and he's looking over at him, and he gave him like a fist up, and I thought, fucking hell, that's a change.
Yeah.
You know, before they were killing each other, weren't they? But yeah, I think something's happening there. Listen, it will all change if they fight each other. They'll hate each other again. So maybe it wasn't as spiteful as we thought.
I think it was. I think now what I believe makes a difference. It may or may not. Dillian White is now headlining his own shows. Mm-hmm. He's at that stage where he's on the peripheral of a world title, right?
Yep.
He's also his own manager.
Yep.
And he, you know, when Eddie says they own the show, they take responsibility for the show. So he's now more, I'm not going to say on the level of AJ, I'm not talking absolute nonsense. I don't mean it like that. He's nowhere near AJ's level. But he's kind of more business savvy than people would imagine, right? So they are very, very aware that there's a massive fight down the line.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, they've already fought twice. It's one
so
or
what you're trying to say? What you're trying to say is he's just buttering AJ up a little bit, just to get the big money.
Of course he is.
Oh, listen,
Dillian is an
great
intelligent
businessman.
Yeah,
you know, there's nothing wrong with that, is there?
And everyone wants a piece of that AJ pie. 100%. Everyone.
Well, what did he say? He said, Anthony. What did I was watching an interview with Tyson Fury this morning. Actually, I don't know if you saw it. I think it wasn't an interview. It was his Snapchat or whatever it is, or whatever, Twitter. And he was saying, AJ, don't go and fight a Wilder because you're going to get knocked out, and Wilder would take my $50 million or £50 million. And I was like, he's just off his head, isn't he?
He's nuts.
He's absolutely barking.
I still want him to get his comeback fight in, then I can talk about him in a bit more.
Yeah, I agree, 100%.
Pulling the Punch also asks, what's next for Parker, and could White beat him?
I don't see why they would fight. You know, what White is now...
I'll tell you why. We said this earlier, right? If Eddie's had a word and Wilder Joshua was happening next, who could White fight to stay busy? Povetkin for the WBA mandatory slot, or Joseph Parker that's fought and had the world title? What looks better on the record? Parker for me. I know Povetkin had it a while back, but
I don't know. I don't see it as a great fight. The same as I don't see White Povetkin. I don't know. I don't see. I think the result that Joseph Parker had, I think he'll never come back to this country and box again. I wouldn't.
Really?
No.
So what's he going to do? Carry on fighting in New Zealand?
I think New Zealand, America. You know, listen. Let's be honest. That was over in America. Yeah. And he's just gone 12 rounds with the guy who's knocked out 20 out of 20. He could quite easily go and make a career in America now. He lives in Las Vegas.
Vegas, yeah.
Let's have it. Don't worry about it, mate. I would never come back again if that happened to me.
So if you're Joseph Parker, you're going to wait for AJ to unify. To be undisputed, and then the belts are going to free up, I'd imagine. The way I picture it happening is he wins all the belts, and then they become vacant because he can't mandatory on every single title. So there'll be one or two belts knocking about.
Yeah, I think Joseph Parker, Dominic Brazil was quite a good fight.
Yeah, but
America.
What about Dillian? Would Dillian beat Joseph Parker for you? I think that's a difficult fight because
I think it's a very difficult fight because they're both quite small.
They're both quite small,
and they both like to bang.
And Parker doesn't like to hit the floor.
Yeah, that's the thing. Both of them don't.
Yeah.
You know, listen. Besides Anthony Joshua, no one else has ever really hurt Dillian either.
No.
So you know, I don't know. I just think that's a banger, but I'm not sure it's a great fight.
No.
No.
All right. Let's power through. There's a few more questions, not all of them related to this card. Last one actually that I think is related to this card. Dan Frost, our mate Dan, he travelled to Manchester with us for Groves Eubank. I think he went to Cardiff last night. He went New York twice last year. The guy is literally boxing. He's a top man. Povetkin did what he had to do against the game David Price, but at 38 years old, is he good enough to win those titles? Hashtag Ask O'Reilly. I like that. I've got my own hashtag. Cheers, Dan.
Ask O'Reilly.
Yes.
Excuse me, O'Reilly and Smith. Yeah. Let's get that in.
I'm the only ever present, mate. We had Gray last week. Scott in the next couple of weeks. What do you reckon? At 38, can he win the titles? For me, no.
I think it's the same as what happened with Parker. And I think that Parker was a perfect pre-run for Povetkin. Much smaller, uses jab. I think his jab wasn't great yesterday, Joshua. But he has got a great jab. So I think if he was to work on that against Povetkin, Povetkin doesn't have much head movement. You know, David Price caught him. He doesn't have much head movement. He's quite static. He's just very broad, isn't he? So there isn't much body movement. I think AJ, long jab, beats him comfortably.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I think Parker's young enough that he can hang about. He's 26 years old. That the titles, anything could happen to these titles in a few years. But at 38, Povetkin needs the big fights now.
Yeah.
Now, if they can't make Joshua Wilder and he gets mandatory against Joshua, and that fight happens next in the summer, I think you're right. I think it'd be a very similar fight.
But I think it gets stopped early.
Early, you reckon?
Yeah, I reckon first fight. Listen, Povetkin don't like it when the going gets tough. He doesn't like it. How many times was he down against Klitschko? 5?
Something like that.
Yeah.
But he went the
distance.
Yeah.
He went the distance, fair play. But I think Joshua hits a lot harder than Klitschko.
Yeah.
I do. I think he hits a lot harder than Klitschko. I think, and listen, how many years ago was that? 4?
4, I believe.
4 or 5 years ago, he was 33, 34. He's now 38. By the time the fight comes around, he might be 39, 40 if he has to wait for Wilder. So who knows?
So for you, world titles are gone.
Well, I don't think he could. I think him versus Wilder would be a good fight. I don't think him versus Joshua would be a good fight, just because of the size.
That's all the questions from last night. A few more questions to sum up. Just trying to find Rob Martin, the mayor of Brixton. He was always going to talk about this. Did you listen to last week's podcast? You didn't, did
Richie
you?
Gray.
No, yeah.
Yes.
But where I said I couldn't go into too much detail about the Isaac Chamberlain situation. Mm-hmm. So since then, obviously, Isaac did his reveal all on Ted Bammy and what's happening in there, which coincidentally, IFL have now removed because Ted's been getting some death threats and stuff.
Yeah.
Is what it is for me. You rob your nephew of 10.5 grand, be it on your head, you mug, but whatever. His question: what do you think the impact will be on Miguel's gym now after what that Robin bastard has done? Was an inspiring gym who now has lost a class team. So it looks like it's broke the gym up. Obviously, Chris Congo fought last week on Dillian White's undercard with Bammy in his corner. Since then, it's come out. Craig did an interview with Isaac, FightTalk.net, and it turns out Congo has been robbed of $1,000 a month by Ted Bammy also. One of the promoters was paying $2,000 a month into Bammy's account, $1,000 for him and $1,000 for Congo to keep him in the gym, keep him. And Bammy's been nicking that as well. So he's nicked a considerable amount off Congo, $10.5 grand that we know of from Isaac, and there was also instances with tickets in the last year or two I've heard. What's going to happen to Miguel's gym? I don't know. It still baffles me that Ted Bammy's walking around. I'm deadly serious. Like, there's going to be his side of the story coming out this week. Someone I know well is doing an interview with him this week. It's coming out his side of the story. It looks pretty cut and dry.
You don't want to see anything like that going on, do you? You've got to, especially it's his nephew, isn't it?
Yeah,
Isaac.
Yeah.
That's just mortifying. For you to rob family is bad. For you to rob anyone is bad. But to rob your family and stuff like that, it makes you a very, very sad human being and a very, very horrible person. I don't understand it. I don't see why you would do that. You're just a money hungry little fucker, innit? Simple, I think.
But to the people that are meant to have all their faith and trust in you, and
it's not good. It'd be interesting to see the interview.
Yeah, that'll be out this week, I'm pretty sure. Richie Gray sent in a question. So first of all, now I've seen this and it is a bit fucking weird when boxers do this. So his question was: when pro boxers ask how they can find a live stream for the boxing, do you think they should remember they're trying to sell tickets instead of giving away free live streams? So I guess what he's trying to say is these guys are asking for free live streams. They're trying to take, not take away from other boxers, but they want to watch the boxing for free, but then they're the same people that are asking people to buy tickets from them. Does it make them hypocrites? Or his actual question is, why are boxers so dumb? I mean, it's true. If you actually look at it, if you're a boxer expecting people to buy tickets from you, maybe you should be buying at least the pay-per-view or the stream or whatever of the fight that you... I don't know, it's true. Maybe you're a bit hypocritical. Maybe you're just not getting paid enough by your promoter and you don't have the money. Who knows? But
I can't see it not having the money. You know, it's once every month, isn't it, or 2 months or whatever it is, pay-per-view. I'm a firm believer. If you want to see it, pay for it. You know, let's not. You know, I know there are people that stream, mate. I don't even know how to do it. I'm old.
Better turn your phone on.
I'm a fossil. I don't really understand what streaming is. Last time I went to stream, I got some adult thing come up and I didn't know what was going on. So I had to,
adult thing?
Yeah, well, porn. But I had to get rid of that. I didn't know what was going on. But yeah, I don't know. For streaming, to me, I wouldn't do it because I don't know how to. But yeah, no, I always pay for it. I think, listen, you've got to pay for it. If you want to watch it, pay for it. If you don't want to watch it, then... Or if you don't want to pay for it, don't watch it. That's my view on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's us. I mean... There's one or two questions that Terry sent in a load. Jamie Young will be last one. How do you think Hughie Fury would get on with AJ?
1 round.
1 round. You think Joshua would beat Hughie Fury in a round?
If he came out and attacked him, I'd like to see the build-up. Because if Hughie Fury got under his skin and AJ run out, I think he would knock him clean out.
Yeah.
Hughie Fury's that bad.
No, you can't say he's that bad. He's not that bad.
I think he is.
No, I don't think he's that bad at all. I think that's...
Okay, I'll give him 2.
That's hot.
Tyson, different story.
But we're not talking about Tyson.
Hughie.
So you really don't rate him at all?
Nah.
Do you think he wins the fight against Sexton?
Yeah. Mate, I think Sexton. Come on. Come on. Sam Sexton, respect to winning the British title, mate.
Yeah.
Respect.
Because you think that's his level?
It's above his level.
Alright, we're going to finish up. There's a lot of questions just coming from Terry. I think we'll maybe do these next time. We'll pick the top one. There's a list of 5 or 6. Terry, the 7 Wolves from the New Age Boxing Podcast, the best boxing podcast out there. I know I run a podcast and I say that quite comfortably that they're better than us. It's alright.
I'm here now. Don't worry, fans, I'm here.
We'll just nick the top question and that'll do you. Are we now in a position where we can never see AJ versus Wilder? Can their egos coexist?
Oh, that's a good one.
It's a quality one.
That's a good one. I think money talks. I really do, and I think they've got to. You know, Wilder earns. I know. Listen, I was about to say Wilder earns fuck all, but he earns a lot more than I do. But in look at what AJ earns compared to Wilder. It's miles away, isn't it? So I think for Wilder, I think he needs this big fight. Because I think the money would be more than probably what his career earnings have been. Ego-wise,
would he have to accept the same percentage that Joseph Parker accepted? Or would Hearn try and make it as hard as he fucking could because of all the rows with Shelley Winkle? Shelley Finkel that they call Shirley Winkle, Lou DiBella. It's all got a little bit naughty now, a little bit... Yeah. For me, I'm a bit of an old school boxing fan. For me, WBC is the best. Why? Because we're led to believe that. I'm old school, aren't I? I like the I think the WBC... What, are you Mexican? Why do you care so much about the WBC? The WBC was the original, wasn't it? It was the number 1 belt. You know, and I when I started watching boxing, it was the WBC heavyweight championship of the world, and it was, for me, the WBC is always the biggest belt. I understand that now Joshua's got 4, so it does put including him, the IBO. It does put him above that, I believe. Yeah. But if it was 1-on-1, I think the WBC should get 1 belt each. I think the WBC champion is the better champion. I think everyone wants to be the WBC champion. Yeah. So, listen, I would say it should be a 60-40 Joshua because he's got 4 belts. That's how I would do it, and I think that's more than Wilder would ever earn. I kind of, in a weird way, think the belts are irrelevant. Imagine world titles didn't exist, right? And it was these two wanting to fight. It's an Eddie Hearn promoted show. Or Anthony Joshua's show. It's on his card. It's in our country. He's the tickets. He's the seller. He's the name. He's the everything. Wilder, no one knows who Wilder is in his own fucking country.
Yeah, it's true.
Do you know what I mean? So, all right, he has the WBC belt. I enjoyed his last fight with Ortiz.
Yeah.
But commercially, I'm not convinced he brings a lot. You know? So, I know it shouldn't be, but this is business, isn't it? So, if you look at that side of it, then it would be less. You'd give the man bringing nothing 30%, 25%. Who knows what percentage Parker got last night? Who knows? But Parker always wanted the fight, in my opinion. Who knows if Wilder does? I don't know.
I think it was around 33%.
Ain't bad, is it? Out of the 25 million, 30 million.
He got 33% because that's what Kevin Barry. Basically, I think they wanted 35%. I think Eddie Hearn offered him 30%, and they met on 33.
Which is fair enough because I believe Parker's a humble kind of guy. Well, I'm not saying Wilder's not humble, but he's very egotistical.
Oh yeah, he would want 50-50.
Yeah,
or even 51-49. That's how much of an ego he's got.
So that
in his favour, by the way. So, which is ridiculous. Yeah. But that, listen, it's a great question, and it could never happen.
Do you
because of that? On two ways. I think if he swallows his ego, I don't think he would come here to fight Joshua.
Them scorecards might not have helped last night.
Do you know that? But that's my biggest worry. So would it be then an Eddie Hearn promotion? Would it be Matchroom America doing it?
Matchroom US.
I don't know, but I don't honestly think.
Well, I'm telling you, it would. I am 99.9 recurring % sure there is no possible way it's on any show apart from Matchroom. Whether it's Matchroom US.
I agree there, but I don't think it's going to happen here. I think it'll be Las Vegas.
Do you reckon?
But listen, he's been talking about getting Joshua over there for how long?
Yeah.
What is the biggest fight for Joshua to go over there? And if Joshua knocks him Sparko, he's made
Joshua arguably is a bigger name in America than Wilder already. Yeah. It's fucking terrible.
I agree. I think Wilder's more known over here than he is over there. Without a doubt. Yeah.
Probably because we've got a lot more boxing fans.
Yeah. And fanatics. 100%.
Yeah. It's the fight we all want to see, unless in that time Fury comes back and makes a dent on the division. Time will tell. There's a lot of ifs and buts with Tyson. June the 9th is what we're hearing he's going to fight on. Yeah. But
well, listen, he's looking good, isn't he? He's looking good.
How exciting would it be if he got back in there though and got back?
Oh, mate, if he got back in, he was dancing around and he looked decent. The calibre of opponent's going to be pretty shocking, I would have thought. But I think give him one warm up fight, put him up against
a top 3 or 4.
A David Price. Give David Price one more.
Poor David, he's had enough. Leave him alone.
But listen, at least he knows Tyson Fury wouldn't bang him out. Yeah. The biggest puncher. That could be a decent fight.
Maybe you should fight Tom Dallas.
That's just horrible. Someone is going to get knocked out. We can assure you of that Dallas if it did happen.
Oh, mate, imagine Dallas Price. That's it. There's a few more questions, but I'm pretty tired. We got food downstairs.
Yeah, we got food, and I'm proper Hank Marvin, mate.
All right, let's get out of here. This has been the Fight Talk podcast. Thank you, everyone, for every single question. Should be back next week, I think. Yeah, Craig's in Scotland, but I'm going to be doing it with a guest, I believe. But yeah, man, it's been the Fight Talk podcast. Thanks for listening. Get involved all over the fucking social media. Get subscribing, all that stuff. Thanks very much for listening.